Hi everybody, I hope you can hear and you can see, and we have high quality audio and video. When you get a moment, please let me know if that is the case. I'm sorry I didn't get to give you any advance notice about this live stream. It has been a crazy week and I know we're rolling into the holidays and it's going to get busy for everyone. So I just wanted to jump on, even though it wasn't easy to get here, and try to finish this robe. So if you're amongst the few who are able to log on, if you could just please give me a thumbs up. The audio could be louder. I wonder what I could do about that. Hang on one second. Let me see if I can fix that. Headphones might do the trick, so we're going to do a little test and see if that works. I think it connected to my computer though, instead of, yeah, okay. That won't work. For you. I want it to connect to my phone, but I have the computer up too. Okay, let me know. Is that any better, Monica? Can you hear any better at all? Oops, now I think you can't see very good. Maybe I can talk louder and that will help. Let me see about adjusting this. Okay, well the most important thing is that you're going to be able to see what I'm doing. Let me know if that's any better, Monica, and I'll try to talk louder too. Okay. You can hear, but it's on the low end. Okay, thank you for that. Next time I'll remember to connect my earbuds to my phone, but I don't think I'm going to be able to remedy that without shutting down the live stream. And we don't want to do that. Okay, so this is the pattern that we have prepped and cut out. It is a simplicity, easy to sew, and the number is 1562A. And I am making a size large from this pretty fleece, and then I'm using royal blue accents. So I've set aside roughly 90 minutes. It'd be great if we didn't need that much time, but hopefully we can get it sewn in that amount of time. It's nice to see you, Jennifer. And you're from Linden, Tennessee. I bet it's gorgeous in Tennessee. Where are you at in the world, Monica? All right, so the first step in this pattern, and I am not really one for instructions. That's why I became a designer, so I could do my own thing. But in this case, I'm going to try to discipline myself and follow the instructions. I have friends out there in the sewing world who are truly experts in garment making, and they did tell me I have no choice but to use the zigzag stitch for this. I was really hoping I could straight stitch this and work on my Janome, on my Juki, which is my favorite machine, but it only has a straight stitch. So what I did is test on a little scrap piece of fleece, and I did the zigzag stitch on one end, and you see it can stretch beautifully without snapping. I did the straight stitch on the other end, and as soon as I pulled that, all of those stitches snapped. So I am gonna work on the Janome Skyline S3 today. I am working with cotton thread, so hopefully that'll be okay. And I do have just a universal 90-14 needle in there. Oh, Monica, you're in Southeast Louisiana. Oh, you're nice and close to New Orleans. I bet it's gorgeous there too. So that's what we're going to try to do. So I'm going to zigzag stitch the whole darn thing. And I have it set on a 3.0 stitch width and a 2.0 stitch length. And the really nice thing about this fleece is those stitches just sink right down into that fleece, so you really can't even tell that it's a zigzag stitch. It sews up beautifully. And if I didn't explain it, the zigzag stitch allows for the one-way stretch that is in this fleece. So many thanks to Joanne and Casey, who are my friends with all the experience, and they're also members of Studio 365. I really appreciate them sharing their knowledge with me to make this more successful. So, step one in this process is to prep the pockets. And I read through these instructions, and this looks like a fun process for prepping these pockets. Here's the images for you. What we're going to do first is fold over the top edge of the pocket a 1/4 inch, and that is on the raw edge. So I'm just going to use a 1/4 inch. Well, you couldn't use it doesn't even really say what you use. Let me read the instructions to you. Press under a 1/4 inch on the upper edge of the pocket. Turn upper edge to outside along fold line, forming facing, and stitch along the seam line on the raw edges. Trim to a 1/4 inch. Okay, so I guess you don't have to tack down this fold here. The way this is going to work is we're going to turn it over, and then it's going to create a nice finished edge. So first step, fold over the top edge of the pocket a 1/4 inch, and then on the pattern pocket it has the fold line there. I want to make sure you guys can see this because this is kind of clever. So after I have it folded over a 1/4 inch, then I'm going to fold that back. Looks like about 1.25 inches. And then I will be stitching down across the bottom and back up. Right? This seems so counterintuitive, but I have a feeling it's going to work good. Now for this, I'm pretty sure that they are just using a straight stitch on this, but I already have it set up to zigzag, so let's see what happens. And I also think that this is a 5/8 of an inch seam allowance. One thing that I like about sewing on the Janome is I don't have to use a foot pedal. It's been a long time since I sewed on this machine. Hello, seamstress. Good to see you. Oh, it came on thread. I shouldn't have looked away. I'm not sure why that happened, and I hope that it doesn't happen again. Maybe I was going too fast. I bumped up the speed a little. This is a pretty new machine that doesn't have a lot of hours on it. I sewed on it for maybe 9 months in 2021. Okay, I'm going to try to pick up where I was, and I'm going to bump down my speed a little. I think I was going too fast. And that's obviously too slow. The one thing maybe I should have done is put in a fresh needle, because I think the last project that I actually worked on this was a rope bowl, and that would have been hard on the needle, but I don't even know if I have needles for this machine handy. I have them somewhere, it's just since I moved, I don't know if I have them handy. Let me know if you've ever made a robe and if you like sewing with a fleece. That didn't work out for me because I wasn't paying attention, so I didn't stitch that down. I'm sure the second pocket is going to go much better. Let me fix that. Okay, so the way this works is this is the facing for the pocket, and so then when I turn that over like that, I have this great top finished edge, and then the stitching is my guide to fold the rest of that in to attach this to the robe front. Pretty clever, huh? A horrible wool that shed like crazy. Oh my gosh, I can't even imagine sewing a wool robe. Like, I can't even imagine wearing a wool robe. Scratchy business. Okay, so after you get the facing done on the pocket, then you can go ahead and stitch the facing close to the inner edge. So we would want to stitch right across there. That'll give the detail on the front of the pocket and close up that underside of the pocket. Now, this does seem like it would be better suited for the straight stitch, but I am really worried about using a straight stitch on this because that fabric popped like just with the slightest tug. So I'm thinking putting your hands in and out of the pockets, it would be best to just stick with the zigzag stitch. So I'm going to put this up on here, and I'm going to try and stitch from the top for this one and see if that works out for me. Stitching from the underside would be much safer because I can make sure nothing comes out. This fleece seamstress does not shed at all. I'm so happy about that. And I mentioned it washes beautifully. It's not even attracting like any lint balls to it. Okay, let's see how that worked out for me. Not too bad. It was not that straight across the back side though, so I think sewing across the back would have been a better bet for me. That's why you live and learn. So let's try that technique on this pocket and see if that works out better for me. Okay, so I want to fold that top edge over 1/4 inch, then bring this lip back the 1¼ inches. Get my little clip on there. Zigzag is a good choice if you have an interface. This is not interfaced. I couldn't figure out how you would interface fleece. Won't it just melt under the iron? Okay, then I'm going to do the same thing and stitch right down that edge with a 5/8 of an inch. From Sarasota, Florida. Good to see you, Robin. We got a lot of people from the south here today, where I'm sure it's sunny and warmer. What's everybody doing for Thanksgiving? Will you be cooking? And will you have time to sew? Okay, I think the second pocket is gonna work out much better. First off, just sewing around that worked better. So this is the facing. So then I just turn that right around. And this time I'm going to stitch straight across the back so I can use my edge there as the guide. And this machine has a little lock stitch for the zigzag. You're going to do all the, oh, your husband's going to do all the cooking and you'll be doing all the sewing. That sounds like a good deal. Okay, this turned out, this is funny. It looks crooked on the front and it looks perfect on the back. I wonder why that is. Even though I sewed straight across the back, it definitely looks crooked, guys. But good thing this is for me, so I'm not going to stress about it. Actually, the first one turned out better sewing across the front. So if I had to prioritize, I would stitch across the front so you can keep the look straight. Oh well. Okay, so the concept here is then I can take my clips and fold this over along that stitch line and I will have nice pockets. Ooh, decluttering. That's one of my favorite things to do. 5 quilts. Sheesh. That's wonderful. Do you quilt them yourself, Monica? Like the actual quilting part, do you do yourself or do you send them out to someone? anybody who joined late, this is what I am sewing today. It's Simplicity 56 2A out of fleece. This is actually my first time sewing fleece. So I'm working with a zigzag stitch so my stitches don't pop. Overall, that pocket technique is great. That's one of the things that I really like about expanding into the garment sewing is there's a lot of techniques that you can use on your bags. Like this is a fabulous way to make a slip pocket to add to the front of a tote or the interior of a bag. And it's going to be really nice using that facing method. So you could totally use this method with cotton and get a really nice look. You got lots of room to improve that with sewing straight across there. I think it's one, the pattern of this fabric, and two, that the fabric has a little bit of stretch, and then three, that I'm talking and sewing. So I'm sure you can get it nice and straight. Oh, you do have the free motion. It really takes a lot of practice. I one day want to have a long arm, but I first have to learn how to be a good quilter. So that's one of my goals that I'm trying to accomplish with the friendship circle. So we have 2 pockets, yay, and I have learned a new technique for pocket making. I'm just gonna prep this second one, and then we're going to move on to what they call the carriers, or what I would call the belt buckles. It holds the waistband on the robe. Oh wow, 14-hour days. Monica, what do you do about like back pain, neck pain? Like that's a long time to be sewing. What kind of setup do you have that you can sew that long? Do you take frequent breaks, stretch, or how do you keep from becoming uncomfortable when you're working that much at the machine? All right, I have 2 pockets prepped. So I don't need this anymore. Now we're moving on to carriers. So it says fold carrier in half lengthways with wrong sides together, press, setting in a crease. Again, can I press fleece? I feel like it would totally melt. I don't even think it would hold a press. Let me know if you think it would. Even with a pressing cloth, I don't know. I'd still be nervous about pressing it because I feel like it would melt onto my iron. So let me know in the comments if you can even press fleece. I did not press mine. Then you're going to open out the long edges of the carrier and turn them wrong side so they meet at the crease, press. Fold the carrier in half lengthways, bringing the pressed edges together, stitch, close along the edges. So it said I needed to cut 4 of these. So I have 3 of them folded. This is basically how I do my straps. So in Sewspire terminology, press long ways, open, bring the outer edges inward to meet on the center press line, then fold that over and sew down the long edge. I think that is so much clearer than what I just read to you. I once knew a lady who, that was her job. I met her through my master class. And that was her job before she retired, was writing instruction manuals. And so I learned from her the importance of using exact, very specific language. And I think commercial pattern writers would benefit from her advice too, because I think that was so confusing. In fact, if it weren't for the photos with this pattern, I would not have even known what they were talking about. So here's what we have. 4 of these, and seamstress says some fleece can handle more heat. Most fleece can handle a little. Press cloth would be good, just depends on the fleece. So with the fleece though, will it hold the press line? Like it isn't wrinkly or anything. So you're saying it will hold the press line. And then Monica's tips for sewing a long time. Foam padding, carpet, breaks every 1 to 2 hours, hot Epsom baths, excellent, and a keto diet, nice. You probably have more energy too, I would imagine. Thank you for sharing, Monica. So I have my 4 carrier straps ready. Even though in the pattern it looks like I only need 2 of these, but I'm going to go ahead and zigzag stitch down that open edge of these, and we'll see if I use all of them. You know what I think would be fun? Have you guys ever heard of that children's game Marble Works? As I take these clips off, imagine if I had a little tube that would carry those clips right back into my cart. I think that would be fun. Okay, so this is my carrier strap, and I zigzag stitch that, and those stitches aren't popping, so I think this is a good choice. Only 3 more to go. I do love that game too, seamstress. That's funny. Yeah, I guess you don't really want flat fleece. That would kind of defeat the purpose. Okay, so I didn't press at all. This robe can also be made with flannel, which would be really lovely. Welcome to our new friends. We're making this robe here. Let us know where you're at in the world and what you're doing for Thanksgiving if you're here in the United States. I think I might benefit from a little bit longer stitch length on this. I'm going to bump it up to 2.5 and 3.5 and see what happens. I don't like to keep works in progress, so I am eager to get this robe done. Salt Lake City, Utah. It is probably actually colder there. Okay, so I have all 4 of my little carriers. I'm going to collect these clips and get them back over here. I have my 2 pockets prepped. These are like the little details, right? I think actually sewing the robe together is going to be pretty fast because it's just long, straight stitches. Let's see where we're at here. I wonder if I was supposed to attach those pockets. Yeah. So the pockets were already supposed to get attached to the front before I did the little carrier tabs, but I think it's okay to wait on those. Just don't let me forget to attach the pockets. Honestly though, I kind of messed the pockets up, so I don't know if I want them on the front of it. We'll see when we get there. I don't think your robe has to have pockets, but it might be nice. We'll decide when we get there, but you know now how to make the pocket. Okay, so the next thing is to attach these carrier straps to the back of the robe. And they are useful so you don't lose your tie. So I should probably not skimp there. So I need to cut carrier in half, forming 2 carriers. Fold carrier in half at ends. On outside, pin each carrier to the side edge of the back, centering carriers over large dots, having raw edges even and based. That is a mouthful. So this is the idea. So I'm going to get the back of the robe. And this is just one piece, thank goodness. I don't really see where it's marked. Here's the waistline here. Centering carriers over large dots. I think these are the large dots. So I'm going to put a little pin there. Just going to cut one of these in half. Line up the raw edges. there is a right and wrong side to this material. The right side is much brighter, so I want to put those on the right side. And then I'm going to tack those down. And hopefully this machine can handle all those layers. That's a fair amount of fleece. Okay, I have my carriers attached to the back of the robe. Next step, center back seam of front and collar extension. Stitch 5/8 of an inch from the neck and shoulder edges of the front collar, stitching through small dots at inner corners. Clip small dots at inner corners. This is what we're looking at right here. Oh, good tip, seamstress. Yeah, pressing might make those a lot flatter. I imagine it would. Okay, so I'm done with the back. Gonna get a little drink of sparkle water. And this is the piece that we're working with next. So this is the center back seam. I know this is kind of as that underside, I think, of the collar. So I want to stitch the center back seam. This one is just the solid royal blue fabric. We're going to mix 2 colors of fleece for this. And I clipped in those little notches, and the right sides are facing on this. It's just slightly brighter on the right side. I'm grateful to have my little notches now. So using 5/8 of an inch, I'm going to stitch right across that back kind of neckline. Got that stitched. Lovely. And now it wants me to stitch around this rectangular area here. This is the part that's kind of remains a mystery to me. So I'm going to go ahead and do this because I think the stitching helps reinforce what's going to happen next. sure I open up that seam at the neckline so I don't have like a little bulky patch in the back of the neck. That's what that looks like. Okay. Then we have to clip the corners. This always makes me nervous to do this. I'm basically clipping into that corner there. That's going to give this the ease that I need to line up the pattern pieces. And that's the purpose of that stitching, I would assume, in addition to just stabilizing that fabric around there. So it wasn't quite as hard as I imagined it to be. Okay, then we want to stay stitch along the back neck edge at 1/2 inch. And this will stay in permanently, and it helps prevent stretching on curved edges. And it will not be shown in the future illustrations. So that's good to know. So this is the back, and this is my neckline. So using 1/2 inch, I'm going to stitch across this neckline. And I don't think stay stitching is supposed to be zigzags either, but that's what I'm doing. Stay stitching in place. Here, I'm moving right along. With right sides together, pin front to back at shoulders. And back neck edge, matching centers, back and small dots. Stitch pivoting with needle and fabric at small dots. Trim back neck seam and clip curves. Front to back at shoulders. Now this part seems a little confusing to me because it seems like I should have attached this facing. Let me just, before I make a fatal mistake, make sure. Nope. That's later. That's the other thing about commercial patterns that kind of, to me, like is confusing. It's like you don't just do everything you can with that one piece. They're having you go back and forth, back and forth. Like I would have preferred to attach these little straps and stay stitch the neckline while I had this piece here. That would have made more sense to me. I kind of have an efficient model of sewing where you touch every piece once, do everything you can to it, and then set it down. Okay, let me get the front. Okay, this front piece is the front and what they call the under collar. And these instructions want for me right sides together, pin front to back at shoulders. one is always the hardest. See ya, Monica? And then after you figure out what I call the order of operations, then you can make second, third, fourth ones fast. Okay, this is my right side facing. Got my back here. These are my fronts. These are my shoulders. I can see now where this little cutout will fit with that collar facing, so that's good news. Okay, got the left side on there. And the little notches I made are super handy right now too, because they confirm for me I am in the right area. If your notches will line up, that's your confirmation. Alright, so let me bring this down so you can see here. The shoulders are lined up nice. These are those two pieces that are going to connect with that piece that we just sewed together. I can see that. So all I'm doing right now is sewing the shoulders. Mentioned something about pivoting, so I want to hold off on sewing too far across there, and I'm just gonna stitch what I know for sure is the shoulders. Shoulders are attached. I think I do now have to attach this neck seam, and I think that's how this starts to turn. But it does seem to me that you would attach it first at center. So if I'm not wrong about this. trim that up. I maybe went over just a little bit. But the fleece is super forgiving, and this pattern is very busy, so. And not to mention, it's actually on the neckline where this is going to fold over. So I seriously doubt anyone will know. Okay, now I'm just going to carefully stitch across there. See if I missed any spots, because I knew it would be close on this side. I'm coming back in and touching that up so my collar doesn't come off. I was afraid to turn it over and sew it because I already had the pins in place, and I am really terrified of striking a pin. So I can touch that up on the other side. That fear of striking a pin, by the way, comes from my great-grandmother. When I would watch her sew, she would just emphasize that over and over and over again. I don't think I've ever actually hit a pin with my needle because she drilled it into my head not to do that. So all of this now I can clean up. And if I were working with the serger, this would be gorgeous and all my trimming would be done. If I make another one, I will absolutely serge it. I elected not to use the serger for this live stream because the serger is really loud and it shakes the table, and I just thought that would be super irritating for a live stream. It'd be great for a tutorial because you could mute and fast forward. This actually looks pretty good. Yay! I'm kind of excited about that. There's a tiny pucker here, which could have been prevented with a little bit of care, but again, the collar's coming over that. You're not gonna see that. Okay, I'm happy. Let's see how we're doing on time. 50, it's been about an hour. I can spare a little bit more time. I really want this done. Thank you, seamstress, and thank you for hanging out here with me too. All right, I wish I would have made myself a cup of tea though. I only have sparkle water, and a cup of tea would be super nice right now. Okay, next thing is press shoulder seams open, pressing back neck seam towards collar. With right sides together, pin sleeve to armhole edge with center small dot at shoulder seam, matching remaining small dots. Stitch again 1/8 of an inch from first stitching. Did we stay stitch those shoulder seams? Because there isn't a first stitching. You know, sometimes commercial patterns can have errors and they don't update them because they're already printed. Yeah, it doesn't say anything about stay stitching those arms, but it looks like that they are. Or maybe they're just telling me to run 2 rows of stitching in that area because that is a stress point. Since I'm using the zigzag, I don't think I'm going to worry about that. I think they actually are using a straight stitch with this. Okay, so next step to get these armholes on here. This is what I have so far. It's looking cozy. So I'm going to be pinning the armholes on right sides together. I've got my 2 sleeves here. Now, this is when I told you you have the single notch and the double notch, and you want to line them up, go in the right way. So don't skip your notches on your sleeve because this is the point where you really need them, and it's so super handy to have those notches. Let me get a whole bunch of So I think the double notches are always towards the back, and that is proving true here. And the single notches indicate that's the front. Sorry if you guys can hear the dog crying. We're getting a storm door put on, and he can see them working, and he wants to be outside with them, and they're not letting him out. So if you hear him crying, he's not hurt, he's just sad. With these sleeves too, you kind of have to work with the stretch of the fabric as to not sew in a wrinkle. There we go, there's one. Now, do I dare try to pin on the next one, or should I just sew this down? I think I'll just go ahead and sew this down so I can get these clips off of here. I also think the neighbor is outside too, so that's making Tim more eager. I thought when I moved to the woods I would have silence, guys. It's not proving to be the case. It's nice and quiet at night, but during the day there's lots of ruckus. Okay. Keep this sleeve on. Is anybody asking for any fun Christmas presents? Am I looking forward to having the storm door? I am, because we don't have a peephole. And so on occasion, you know, people are at the door and I don't know who's there. So to me, it would be really nice to be able to open the door and just see who's there without feeling like, you know, opening up the whole house. And then also it will be great to have more light coming in on that side of the house. So I am excited to have it. It was one of my first wish list items. But this house was built in the 1970s, so they had some challenges installing the door because it's not like a brand new build. For me, whenever I'm making garments, once I get the sleeves on, then it's like super satisfying. It's kind of like at the point when you're making bags and you bird the bag and you can like see this happen. The sleeves are the turning point for me. That's also the point when you know it's going to work out. That collar was my major concern because I couldn't visualize how that would come together. But now I think I can see how the rest of this comes together. I am seriously debating though leaving the pockets off. I know it's nice to have pockets for your phone and stuff, but I mess them up. And I'm too lazy to make other ones. Your house was in the 70s too? Yeah, a funny thing happened with this house when they took off the trim for the door. It was this super bright green paint under there. They had taken, originally I guess when they remodeled, they flipped this house. They had taken that plain green trim and turned it around, and on the other side was a gorgeous part of the trim. So it's kind of like a mystery when you buy an older house. You like find these funny, you know, quirks about it. But I was like, why would you first have that green trim on your house? But then second, why would you hide the pretty part of the trim? And that's just with a storm door. Okay, one sleeve is on. There is hope that this is getting done today because I'm kind of excited to move on to the next project, guys. I am all about the instant gratification. So this took a lot of patience and self-control for me, but oh, isn't that pretty? That was a good choice to do the sleeves in a different color. That looks really good. I am a fan of the fleece. It is fun to sew with. Okay, now we need to get over to the other sleeve and attach it. This is going to be fun to wear too, but let me know if you think if it's all right if I ditch the pockets, because the rest of this is coming together nice, and you did see how to make the pocket. Also too, you know, robes add a lot of bulk. Let's see. A lot of bulk to the body, so the pocket even adds more bulk in that abdomen region where, I don't know about you, I don't necessarily want more bulk there. So maybe it could just be, oh yeah, the one pocket I was actually thinking about that too, seamstress. I'm kind of thinking of leaving them off. And here's the good thing is I can make new pockets another time, of course, and attach them. That pocket method would allow me to attach the pockets at any time. So I think for this robe, because those pockets are imperfect, I'm going to skip them. I'll wear the robe through the holidays, and then if I'm missing those pockets, I'll add them. Because everything else about this is working out nice. But now you can see though, the next time I make this, I know, go ahead and like put in a little chalk line for that stitch line. You could also put in some pins so you could just sew nice and straight. A little row of washi tape across there would also help you make those seams nice and straight. I'm sure my sewing friends have some tips for me on how to get that nice and straight too. And for this, it might be nice to add pockets in the seam at the sides too, if you know how to do that. That's not that hard either. Okay. Got this next sleeve on. Now I'm going to go ahead and sew it down. And then I think we're on to the side seams and just hemming and attaching the facing on the collar. And then I have a brand new super soft bathrobe. And because I pre-washed the fabric, it's wet, it's ready to wear. I'm most excited for this robe because it's really long. I have a store-bought robe, it's too short. We do have to make the tie too for the waist. And then we can think about what we're going to make next. Wow, that's smart. Transfer paper. Yep, that's how you do it. Okay, second sleeve is on. Looking good, looking good. Let's see what's next. Stitch front to back at entire underarm seam, matching armhole seams. This is when it gets good. This is like the rewarding part. Okay. So I just have to align the underarm seams here. And luckily I have my little notches in the sleeve too. And this is where they were talking about pressing open the shoulder seams, because you can imagine how totally annoying that would be to have this big bulky seam under your arm. So I definitely want to clip that good. The home stretch, that's right. Okay, let's talk about what we should make next. So this, in my opinion, this robe, like this would be a gift you would make for somebody that you know really well. So you can make it from fabric they like, and obviously it takes a lot of fabric, so it's not inexpensive to make unless you were the beneficiary of a lot of fleece or you got a super good deal. So this would be a higher end gift, more time consuming too. That's the other thing to think about. Not as time consuming as a quilt, but still a really nice gift. Pot holders we already made. Those are super cash. You could give them to anyone who has a kitchen in their favorite colors, and people would like those. The tissue box cover could be for anyone who has a nose. All people like tissues. The robe, the tissues could also be for a guy or a girl. The hot mitts or hot pads could be for a guy or a girl. This robe, so we're doing pretty good there on like being unisex, and also doing pretty good for any age. I suppose the robe could be considered holiday decor too. And then the patch cat is mostly for kids. So who are we missing? We don't have anything for our pets, but I don't know if I have any good ideas for our pets. Do we need more casual, easy things like stocking stuffers? We could make stockings. I bought my stockings this year. I actually have my Christmas tree up. I'm going to show you guys. I'm going to do a home tour after I get the house all the way decorated. And I'm going to give you a little tour through my whole house. I've never done that before, but this house is really unique. It's an A-frame. And so I'm going to share the tour to show you my holiday decorations, but then also to just preserve this moment in time for people in the future. So we have how many more days until Christmas? And then actually I need to know like how many more weeks, because then that's how many more projects we have. Okay, the seams. A dog hoodie, how adorable. The other thing I was thinking too is I saw on Pinterest this really cool, I'll call it like a hammock, but it's for the car. It goes from the headrest, the like say passenger seat headrest, to the rear seat headrest, and it's like a hammock. That would work for small dogs. I think they would like riding in that, but that's not what it was designed for. It's for like holding packages and things. It's a little car hammock so things don't roll back and forth in the back seat and stuff. So I was kind of thinking about that. So 5 weeks until Christmas is a fair amount of time. We can fit in a fair amount of projects in that time. Okay, enough talking. I have a long seam to sew. So I'm going to start at the sleeve, and I'm going to go all the way down to that end. I'm using that 5/8 of an inch in the zigzag, and hopefully the bobbin is not close to running out. I started with a full bobbin. While I'm doing this, be thinking of some project ideas. What would you like to receive that was handmade? Or what's the nicest, most thoughtful handmade gift you've ever received? I'm going to be thinking what the most thoughtful handmade gift I've ever received is too. I know what it is. When I was pregnant with Megan, my neighbor made me a puff baby quilt. It was gorgeous. I still have it. That was the most thoughtful handmade gift I've ever received. I was just so wowed that she would take so much time to sew for my baby. That same baby is about to turn 22. Okay, I'm at those little side ties, and this is like 8 layers of fleece I have to go through. It definitely skips stitches, so those are going to need to be reinforced with a straight stitch at the end. Heating packs are a really nice gift. Yeah. People do like those in the eye packs. That's also nice. Something related to self-care is a great idea. Got one side done. It won't be long and I'll be trying it on. Here's my little ties. This is looking legit. Alright. And thankfully I already pinned up this side, so now I can sew right down that. Okay, so it looks like we will do the car hammock, and we will do something having to do with self-care. Any other ideas? That's 2 weeks. We could probably realistically fit in 4 projects, because maybe the week of Christmas, that's when I'll do the little tour. around the Christmas tree. I have to still decide what kind of decorations I'm going to put outside. Like, I could do anything, but I don't know if I'm going to go crazy out there. I think I might embrace simplicity this year. I have so many clips here. I'm going to clean them up real quick before they end up on the floor, and then I have to chase them around. Okay, coming to that armhole sleeve, making sure those seams are open. Second little carrier strap. I'm gonna go nice and slow over that. It skipped a little. I think it's just a lot of fabric. All my pattern pieces are lining up nice, like at the bottom, so I know I did a good job cutting them. Oh, and I forgot with this machine I can see the bobbin. So I'm not almost out of bobbin. On the Juki I can't see the bobbin. My ear though is trained to hear when it's getting low. Anyone else? All right, this is really, really looking like a robe. So let me have a closer look at these little ties and see if they were skipping. They did skip, I can tell, because it turned into a straight stitch instead of a zigzag. But it's not as much skipping as I thought it would have, and it certainly is an easy fix for that. Let's get inside there. Yeah, it is a very subtle sound. In fact, because of sewing, my ear has been trained for like all changes in like engine sounds. I can, like, if I take my car in to get it worked on, like, I can tell it sounds different than it did before. Oh, yay! This is a nice wide sleeve. That's also comfy. This looks so good. This could be modified to be a really super cute jacket. Okay, coming along well. Let's see what's next. Hopefully, dare I say, the hard part is over. Okay, we are moving to step 14. I also wish these things were booklets and not sheets of paper. If this was a little nice, tidy booklet, that would be very nice. Or why isn't this like available on an iPad? Why is there not a QR code that I could just scan and it takes me to instructions on my iPad that I could annotate? If there's any pattern designers out there, there's room for improvement. Commercial patterns. Love the indie designers. Okay, next step would be press up the hem sleeve. Press under a 1/4 inch on the raw edge. Stitch close to the inner pressed edge. And you can zigzag that, so that's easy. I'm going to hold off on the hemming part. Almost everyone knows how to hem. And I might do that offline. Another thing is you don't have to hem fleece. It doesn't fray. But if we have time, I'll do the hemming. I hear the family rustling around over my head, so they might be wondering what's for dinner. So I want to get the actual construction done. So put a pin in hemming the sleeves. That's not hard to do. Now this next part, it says, apply fusible interfacing to wrong side of front facing at collar sections, following manufacturer's directions, machine based, blah, 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 blah. I'm not going to apply the interfacing for the same reason I mentioned before. I'm nervous about ironing this fleece. I'm nervous about the interfacing sticking to the fleece. They are very cheap. You're right. I would pay more for the booklet too, seamstress. And I don't think the purpose of, from what I understand from my friends who have years in the textile industry, the purpose of the pattern is not the pattern. It's so you buy fabric. So it makes sense to do it as cheap as possible. All right, but more people might sew and enjoy sewing if they did improve the patterns. Kind of goes hand in hand. Okay, so we're skipping the interfacing too. Next step, with the right sides together, pin facing and collar to the garment, matching centers at back. Baste, easing front facing and collar to fit. Stitch across facing exactly 1 1/4 inches above the lower edge, then 5/8 inch from the front and collar edges. Trim facing below stitching. Trim garment within 5/8 of an inch of inner edge of facing. Trim seam clip curve. I was wrong. The hardest part is not behind us, but that does seem excessive. And I think what's going on is here at the bottom, it's a little trick where you can get those beautiful edges at the bottom. Okay, let's start by just getting the facing right sides together with the collar. I'm so tempted to try it on, but I won't. Okay, here's my collar. Let's get my facing. And I still haven't needed all those other tab ties either. What's the deal with that? Right sides facing. Now remember, this is the weird part. Did anything strange happen here? I think that goes on the inside, and that's how you attach it to the neckline. Okay, this is coming back to me. Okay, somebody shout out if I'm doing this wrong. I have made dresses and shirts like this. The video tutorials are really nice to have, especially seamstress when they can edit them and get them down to like under a half an hour with just the essential steps. I really appreciate that. That of course takes a lot of time. And with the commercial patterns, it's not like, you know, they're not going to sponsor you, but an indie pattern designer might. Okay. So this is getting clipped to the outer edge. right side's facing of my robe, so I still have a lot of long stitches to do. And this will go all the way to the end. I'm really happy that I chose the solid fabric as a little bit of accent here. Now, here is a little, I must not have cut the notches in the facing, and I kind of wish I would have, because that would have indicated to me here, I have the notching in the front of the robe. That would have indicated to me if I was on the right track. I don't know why I didn't do that. And it's a little long at this end, so I don't love that. That tells me something's up. So I'm going to line it up at the bottom and work backwards here and see if I can get that to ease in like they mentioned. That's why I say if I had those notches here. There we go, it did absorb back in there. Use up some of these clips on the machine deck. Thank you for the 8 thumbs up. Thank you for even spending any amount of time with me on a Saturday. I just knew if I didn't just go ahead and force this thing done, we were going to hit Thanksgiving and it would be a real struggle. See, from here, the other projects are smaller and easier to do. This one was just a big one. I like to do at least one nice gift idea for the holidays in case there is someone really special that you'll be sewing for. Okay, so again, a smidgen long on this one, so I'm gonna reverse this and work from the bottom, and just like they said, ease that fabric in. And ease simply means stretch a little, kind of like you're getting jeans that are fresh out of the dryer. You just ease into those. And that works. Okay, I have it on here. So here, oh geez, here's my concern though. There's, you know, a wrong side, if you will, and a right side. And I don't fully understand which side goes where. I think this will mostly be under the collar. So hopefully I did that right. This side looks nicer, so that's why I put it on that side as the right side. The other side kind of looks like felt. I'm going to go ahead and stitch it down and we'll see what happens. color seam. Almost to the end. And I remembered how you finish these ends down here. Garment sewing is kind of like learning to ride a bicycle, because then you do remember, like I just did, the tricks for the ends. Okay, so this is the under collar facing, right? And I stitched all the way along there and it looks good. Now I'm going to stitch across this little bottom edge of that, and that's going to allow me to turn this around and I have a nice finished edge at the bottom there, and it will help guide up that hem that goes around the rest. And that's what I mean by that. I'll do the same thing at the other end. It does feel good, seamstress. Especially if it's something you can use. So I would say for a novice, making one of these bathrobes is an 8-hour project. I'm a novice. And I sewed this in real time with you all, and it was about 8 hours. Yeah, that doesn't count like picking out the fabric either, or the time washing the fabric, but those are kind of, you know, assumed. All right, so now I can go ahead and poke this out, and then you can see how you have a nice finished edge there. And this would become the inside of the robe there, but when your collar's folded back, you would see the little bit of blue. Now I have to try and figure out what we do about the neckline. That's where I think their instructions were a little unclear. So here I could easily fold up that edge and hem right across the base of this. So that's nice. And I think if I brought over the mannequin, this would make more sense to you too. Okay, so we still have this to deal with. And I'm thinking if I kind of turn this inside out, that this comes together here. But I'm gonna need the instructions. And maybe I shouldn't have trimmed that shoulder up so much. So for temporarily, I'm going to go ahead and clip this here, and then I'm going to get out the instructions and see if I can figure this out. If I were making this in Studio 365, my experts would be with me and they could tell me what to do here. My hunch is I shouldn't have trimmed so much away from that neckline because I would have more fabric to attach this to. So in a pinch, as long as I sew on that same seam, I should still be okay. That's what I think all that instruction, which they put in one step, which was too much. That was too much information for one step. I think that's what that included. Okay, let's go back and break this down and see if we can make sense of this. With right sides together, pin facing and collar to garment, matching centers at back, done. Based, easing front facing and collar to fit, done. Stitch across facing exactly 1 1/4 inch above lower edge. I have no idea what that means. Then 5/8 inch from front and collar edge. Also don't know what that means. Trim facing below stitching. Not sure about that. Trim garment within 5/8 of an inch of inner edge of facing. None of that makes sense to me at all. Okay, let's move to the next step in case that's what I did, but I don't think that's what I did. Next step, turn facing and collar to inside, pressing up hem. That would be around the bottom like I just explained to you, so that's at least right. Slip stitch pressed edge of facing and collar over back, neck, and shoulder seams, matching centers and small dots. Press under 1/4 inch on raw edge of hem. Yeah, and they don't even have pictures for this part, and this would definitely not be the easy part. So they want you to hand sew this facing to that. I'm going to find a workaround for that because I'm not hand sewing this. Yeah, they do. No. And also, hand sewing is not easy. And I don't even think my hand sewing would hold. Okay, so we're going to find a workaround for this part because basically I just need to get this attached to the seam so it'll hold the collar down. Hand sewing, of course, would be prettiest, but basically I don't hand sew. So what I think I can do is sew exactly on that original seam, and this will be attached. If I go over that at all, there may be a penalty because I'm going to have a little pucker back here, and I don't want that. So I could sew to the right of this. So for this is more follow the instructions, don't do what I do thing, but that's just kind of the sewer I am, the rebel. I'm looking for the easy way, and I am absolutely a visual learner, so I'm going to need those pictures. Okay, I'm gonna get this back to my straight stitch, and the fastest way to do that is just to turn it off and on. And I'm going to attach this facing by straight stitching right across there. put it on first and make sure it looks, oh, I can't see because there's a heart in the way. Maybe I can get it out of the way like that. And make sure it looks okay pinned. All right. That's what I'll do. But I have the clips here. So hopefully they don't get in the way. Oh, it's so nice. Okay, let's see. I don't have a mirror in here, so I'm going to have to wait for the leg. I like it. This is fun. Okay, I definitely don't want the pockets. I do want a tie though. And look how nice and long the arms are. I'll back up, see if we can get the length in this. Oh, I'm happy with this. This is like wearing a big fleece blanket. Length is great for me. In the arms, I will hem this, but I like this little accent at the collar too. I think I'm good to go. Thank you, seamstress. Okay. I'm gonna prop my chair up and get rid of these clips so I don't knock them on the ground. 407. This has taken 110 minutes to sew with no experience. So I'm curious if you would still rate it as easy. Okay. What I'm going to do is straight stitch very carefully, just enough to tack this down. I'm going to try not to go over that original seam on the left because then it will show and my outside will not be as nice and tidy as I have it. And the other thing I can do too, what I will do with this, I will serge this and clean this up, and then it's not going to be a problem for me. But for now, I'm going to go ahead and just hold it down with this straight stitch, which will make my life easier when I'm serging it. So that's going to be my workaround. In fact, I may go back in and serge all of these interior seams, since it does fit and it's nice and cozy. And then we're going to take a look at the belt tie, and then I'm going to put it on the mannequin, and we can talk about what I still have to do offline, which I think will just come down to hemming. All right. Hand sewing is not easy. For me, honestly, if I practice hand sewing, I would get the muscle memory and it would be easier, but my hands don't do what I want them to do. So hand sewing coupled with, older vision, not fun. Okay, but again, I can easily come in now with my serger and just zip across there, and that will actually look really nice. Okay, and I did that. I was able to do that without messing up my pretty exterior, so I'm happy about that, because that I will see. All right, so let me bring over the mannequin and put this robe on her, and then we're going to look quickly at the belt tie and see what we can do about finishing that. It is luxurious, guys. It's a couple of I like it a lot. I'm happy I made it. Yeah. No pockets for me, for sure. Okay. So this is what's left. And with this tie, they do recommend sewing it inside out and turning it. So I hope that's not too tedious. So we're going to sew the two pieces together. And turn it from the middle. It does say top stitch around all the edges of the belt. I feel like the belt is for sure something that you would pull on. Blood, sweat, and tears. It's true. So I'm still gonna zigzag this to top stitch, but I don't think I want to turn it inside out. I feel like that's gonna be irritating too. So I think since I have to top stitch it, well, do I have to top stitch it? Or could I just stitch up the opening where it's turned? Let me think about this, because I might be able to improve this. So one thing I know I have to do for sure is join the two pieces so I have a long enough belt. So that is easy. Now that was still a straight stitch there. And see, as soon as I pull on that, bust. So I'm going to switch it to my zigzag. I just don't trust it. I'm going to go ahead and trim this because I don't want all that bulk in there. Now, options for this, because I want the edge ends finished, that's the only thing. I think I don't have a choice but to sew it inside out. And I think the reason they have you turn it at the middle is so you have finished ends. So that's what we will do. So I'm just going to start at this end over here. Pivot and continue on. and measure this tie for you when I'm done and let you know about how long it is. It seems really long. I'm a couple inches away from that center seam where I'm going to be turning. So I'm going to stop sewing and bump down to the opposite side of that so I can leave myself a generous space to turn. Voila! Okay, so over 2 hours to sew this, and that does not include hemming or attaching the pockets. All right, so I do have to turn this strap inside out. I'm gonna trim it to help with that, and then I'm gonna have a nice belt tie. I want to give you the measurement on the length of this strap. It is approximately 78 inches long, which that is a decent strap amount for a bathrobe, which you might be wearing something else under. There we go. So I'm really happy with it. You know what else I would think would be super cute on this is a hood. So I don't know if there's a fleece hooded bathrobe, but that would be really cute. So offline, I'm going to hem my sleeves and hem the bottom of this, serge the neckline, turn my strap around. I'm not going to top stitch the strap because I know it's the first good tie. Those stitches are all going to just pop. But I am going to use a little bit of top stitching across the bottom here just to close that up. So thank you, seamstress. So overall, I would not say this was a beginner friendly project. I think the instructions would be super confusing for somebody who didn't know how to improvise. So they could use a few more illustrations with this, or like seamstress suggested, a step-by-step tutorial, which in some respects this was, but it is actually a learning process for me too. Sewing garments is something that I have wanted to do for a really long time. My dream is to craft myself a linen wardrobe. So I'm getting to the phase in life where I better make those dreams a reality, right? Or forget them. So it's good for me to challenge myself with projects like this. I learned a couple of things. I learned how to make a cool pocket, which I appreciate. And then I also learned I really do enjoy working with this fleece. I'm also going to totally use this robe and enjoy it. So that's a nice gift for myself this holiday season. And then I would absolutely be able to make one of these for someone else much faster now. So if I had a larger surface to cut it all out, I obviously wasn't live streaming. I think I can make one now, start to finish in 4 hours. Yeah, linen is amazing. It's so amazing. I agree. So, huge thank you to Seamstress and the other folks that joined me today for this impromptu Saturday sew along. I want to wish you all a very happy holiday season. If you're here in the United States and you'll be celebrating Thanksgiving, I hope it is a day filled with love, light, and laughter. And I also hope that during this crazy holiday season, you have a little time to spend in your sewing room creating. I will be back after Thanksgiving with another tutorial recorded, pre-recorded and edited in this ongoing Sewspire handmade gift and holiday decor season 2. And then towards the end of this, before Christmas, I'll give you a tour of my new home and show you my Christmas tree. It was absolutely a pleasure to be here with you, and I'm super happy with my new robe. I hope you all have a lovely day, and until we meet again, please know the creative genius in me will be celebrating the creative genius in you. I'll be sure to post photos of the robe on Instagram and Facebook for you too. See you later, guys.